Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome again to another week of live this morning. The Doctor is in podcast, and good to have you on with us. Okay, so say hello. I'll say hello to a few folks this morning before we get going. Some interesting studies we'll cover this week, and I enjoyed them. Nativity, good morning, and Andrea. Nativity's from Orangeville, and Andrea from Nouveau Brunswick, and Molly, how are you? Diane, good to have you on with us. Linda is on with us. Yolande is on with us this morning, and Charlotte is on with us. Nick is on with us this morning. Micheline, good to have you on. Jerry, good morning to you too. And Rosa, okay. Keith, how are you? Sorry, how are you? Good to have you on. Joss, hey, big crowd already. It's good to be on with you this morning. We're going to talk about some studies. I picked out, I think, about 3 or 4 studies on vitamin D and B12. You know, my two favorite vitamins, right? There was some new studies that came out about them, and I just want to bring them to you. And good morning, Lynn. And I know I missed a few people. Rebecca, and let me just go back here. Who did I miss? Morris, Diane, Marin, Nellie. You guys will get Jeanette's on with us this morning. So I know we're a lot of folks, and then I always miss people, and I don't mean to. And Dennis, good morning. Okay, here we go. So a couple of new studies on B12 and vitamin D. But the one I wanted to bring out first, and I think you will find it, and that's the little thing on our post this morning. There's a study between B12 and vitamin D that they are linked. Now, I'll tell you something, guys. You know me, I'm consistent about these 2 vitamins, and I think the world is very deficient in these 2 vitamins. And the research is bearing that out, right? Like I've said this for 30 years, but it doesn't matter. Now we're finding out we're really, really low in vitamin D and B12. And isn't it interesting that they're linking the 2? This study showed that if you don't have good vitamin D levels, you're going to have trouble absorbing B12. Isn't that incredible? So again, let me just reemphasize this. Your body is a human solar panel. The more we study vitamin D, the more we realize every cell in your body needs vitamin D. Well, during this COVID, everybody understands that now, because in COVID, when anybody went to the hospital or got sick or even died from COVID, you know what they realized? That they were very extremely low in vitamin D. And as a matter of fact, there was a study that came out, let me just mention it. Doctors in Egypt, in the quarantine hospitals, okay, where they have their COVID patients, are to receive 1 million doses of vitamin D. So in Egypt, unlike North America, they understand the importance of vitamin D, and the hospitals are going to get vitamin D to give to the patients that have COVID that are in the hospitals in Egypt. That came out this weekend. Now, you know, what do they know over in Egypt that they already know in North America, but they're not doing anything about it in North America? Like, you guys know me, I would be giving everybody vitamin D. There's nothing that boosts your immune system better than vitamin D. You know, they think of vitamin D still as bones. And it is good for your bones, but it's fantastic for your immune system and your T cells and your natural killer cells, NK cells. They don't work properly without vitamin D. But what are we finding out now? That even B12 is not absorbed. B12 is not absorbed properly without vitamin D. So find out what your vitamin D levels are if you can twist your doctor's arm to get that test done. In our province here in Ontario, several years ago, I can't remember, probably around 10 years ago, they delisted vitamin D in terms of, like, your doctor used to check it off and you could get vitamin D levels checked. But today, they delisted it, meaning that if your doctor checks it off, unless you have osteoporosis, the government ain't paying for it. But guys, I'm just telling you that if you can get your doctor to do it and you have to pay $50 or whatever it is to get done, do it once a year. I think it's well worth it in my opinion. Now, routinely, they will do your B12 testing. So you don't have to worry about that. But the problem with B12, the blood test is 100 years old. And I'm not saying don't get it done. I'm just saying that it's not all that accurate in terms of you can have B12 circulating in your body, but if it's not inside your cells, it's not doing you much good. And so, look, I like to see very high levels of B12 in blood. This way here, I'm pretty sure that you're at the cellular level, your B12 levels are good. Most people are very deficient in B12, and this is one of the stories that came out. But they're linked. You need to have good levels of vitamin D to even have good levels of B12. We learn something every day. Okay? Now, like in terms of what I said, that, B12 is a water-soluble vitamin. The problem is structurally it's a very large vitamin, and it's not an easy vitamin for your body to absorb on the best of days. And here's something else I've said over the years, that if you are on any medication, almost any of them, like especially metformin or any kind of acid reflux medication or whatever, guaranteed you're going to be low in B12. Diabetics generally are very low in B12. But guess what else they're low in? Vitamin D. It's surprising to a lot of people when they get their vitamin D levels checked, they find out that they're very low in vitamin D. And they're in the low end. You want that to be optimized. Okay? So again, I'm just, I like, when I look at B12 levels in blood, I like to see in blood, okay, the old-fashioned test. Like I said, it's not that accurate, but I like to see optimized B12, and that is, I like it between about 800 and 1200. I like it to be high. It'll get flagged, by the way. If you're at 800, it'll flag it. It's high. Ooh, your B12 is high. Say to your doctor, good, I wanted to get high B12. You do. And vitamin D, you want it to be optimized for your immune system to work properly and for everything else. Remember, vitamin D is for everything. And so you want that to be optimized. And in Canada, I like it to be between 150 and 200, even up to 250. And in the United States, I like it around 80, And if it's below 80, you're not in the optimized levels of vitamin D in the United States. Okay, so Canada, between 150, 200, I even like it a little higher than that, but in those ranges is pretty good. And that's when your immune system works. There was a study done on, this is years ago, I saw a study on cancer and vitamin D done by the Vitamin D Council. And what they found was that if you had blood levels in the United States, if you had blood levels around 100, that's how you fight cancer with vitamin D levels. Okay, so anyway, just the study, I wanted to bring it out this morning that B12 and vitamin D are linked. Now, let me talk to you about another vitamin this morning that made the news on the weekend. Okay? It's part of my list of the Martin Clinic alphabet of vitamins. Okay? Not all vitamins are on that list. I substituted a few, you know that. I talked about vitamin C, and you know what the Martin Clinic vitamin C is? It's coffee. Vitamin S is what? I had a lady the other day say, vitamin S, I never heard of it. You never heard of steak? Anyways, this study says vitamin K. Now, you guys know me. I love vitamin K. We put vitamin K in our vitamin D for better absorption of the vitamin D. But here's what they're finding, okay? Here's the study. Let me just read it to you. This study suggests that vitamin K can help COVID. Patients who died or admitted to hospital were low in vitamin K. Now, let me divide vitamin K for you. There's K1, mostly in the plant kingdom. Okay? So when you have spinach or whatever, salad, ladies, when you're having glorified grass, I call it, you get K1, okay? K1 primarily is found in the plant kingdom. K2 is found in the animal kingdom, in butter and eggs and meat. Number one source, you guys should know this. What's the number one source of vitamin K2? Somebody? I can't see stuff, okay? So, like, nothing's scrolling. I used to scroll, it seemed to me, okay? Oh, Sandy says I missed her again. Sorry, Sandy, I didn't mean to. And Natalie and who else? Nancy's on with us this morning. A lot of people I missed. Deb. Okay, and Joanne. Now, listen. Vitamin K2 is found in number one source, cheese curds. So what we're learning, and we learned a lot in the last, I think we're into what, 12 weeks of COVID, are we? Let me just say something that just, I got to tell you this because it bothers me. I'm never going to believe the government again. If between the 15th of June and the 30th of June, if we don't see like hospitals in the big cities in the United States overwhelmed with COVID, Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, Sudbury. If we don't see like it's overwhelmed, don't believe another word you've heard about how dangerous COVID is. Don't believe it. You know why? Because with all those people protesting and not social distancing, we couldn't go to church. We couldn't go to a funeral. You couldn't go to a wedding. You couldn't do anything. Right? How many businesses? They couldn't open up their business. Still can't open up a restaurant business, whatever. I don't want to be political, guys, but you know what? I take everything the government or whatever, the health system tells me. I take it always with a grain of salt. I always take it with a grain of salt. But now I'm telling you guys, the gig is up. If COVID doesn't take off like this, with all those people in the streets, screaming and shouting. You know what they said? You know what our not Minister of Health, but the Chief Medical Officer of Health said, go protest, she said, but don't scream. Like, is that medicine? Anyway, I got to leave it there. I just tell you, it drives me bonkers. I go bonkers when I hear stuff like that. So let's find out if we've been locked down for all this time, still locked down in Ontario here where I am. Fear is unbelievable how it drives people. Anyway, this study suggests that vitamin K is essential to fight viruses. Isn't that incredible? Now, K1 thins your blood. K1 is good. K2 is better. Because K2 takes calcium, hardening of the arteries, and it takes the calcium out of your bloodstream. Folks, don't take calcium as a supplement. I know it's still the #1 supplement in the world. It really is. But it's based on faulty science. You're not low in calcium, ladies. You're not low in calcium. You're low in vitamin K2 and vitamin D because that's what you need for osteoporosis. And vitamin K2 is only, listen to what I'm going to say, is only found in the animal kingdom. In my new book, I divide food. Okay? I call it, God's kingdom has 2 foods groups. Animal and plants, fruits and vegetables. Okay? Nuts and seeds, beans and all that. Those are in the plant kingdom, and in the animal kingdom is eggs, meat, and cheese, and fish. Okay? Got that? And then in my book, I talk about man-made foods. How the food industry has created their own subgroup of foods. They did it with vegetable oils, which I'll bring out a study. It was a new study on the weekend on vegetable oils, but I'll hit it sometime this week. And vegetable oils are not really vegetables at all. They're not. They're made out of seeds. And it's an oil that they heat. And it's manufactured by man. It was never there before it wasn't around until the 20th century. It wasn't found in the 19th century. Only in the 20th century. It was man-made. And we'll talk about that. Man-made foods. Remember? Was it last week or the week before? I can't remember. High fructose corn syrup. Man-made. Every sugar you see added today is not good sugar. If it's added, it is high fructose corn syrup. They just disguise it. I call it in my book the Antichrist of sugars. It's very deceptive because they put a pile of names on it. You won't see on the label high fructose corn syrup. They used to do that. Now they changed it. Because the food industry wants to be even more deceptive. And so now any sugar that's added, I'm telling you, it's high fructose corn syrup. It's very inexpensive. It's very addictive. And we talked about it, it was last week. There's a new disease, we're calling it fructoholism. You remember that? Kids are getting this disease called fructoholism. The amount of fructose has gone up 300% in the last 20 years. And it's not coming from fruit. It's coming from high fructose corn syrup. And it's in everything. And these seed oils are in everything. If it's packaged, it's used, they use vegetable oil. And the reason is, they call it vegetable oil. That's a deception, by the way. They're not vegetables. They're seed oils. Canola. We're exporting canola to China. We're going to make them sick too. They made us sick with COVID. We're going to send back our bad oils to them. They're manufactured, guys. They're not in nature. You can't make that. That stuff doesn't grow in nature. And the way they use it, it's not good for you. You could run your car on it because it elevates your inflammation, which we talk about all the time. So imagine this study suggesting that vitamin K is an important vitamin. Now, we talked about what it does to take calcium out of your bloodstream. So guys, you need vitamin K so that you don't get heart disease. Now think of the conflict here. Because the world has lied to you for so long, and it told you that heart disease is a problem with cholesterol. And cholesterol is only found in the animal kingdom. Cholesterol is not in plants, guys. There's no cholesterol in plants. So when they made cholesterol the boogeyman in the 1960s, 1970s, they made cholesterol, they just pounded it. Don't eat bacon, don't eat eggs, eat our cereal. Don't eat bacon, don't eat eggs, eat our cereal. And they changed our breakfast. We stopped eating, by and large. Do you know that the consumption of red meat has gone down 30%? That was a study. I'll probably touch on it this week. The consumption of red meat since 1970 has gone down 30%. They did a number on us, the food industry. They did a number on the farmers, poor farmers, right? They did a number on them. Cholesterol is bad. Cholesterol is the boogeyman. And so when people look at heart disease, they think cholesterol. It's automatic. Do a survey in your hometown. Go door to door if you want. Do a survey. The number one selling drug of all time is Lipitor, a statin drug that doesn't work. It lowers your LDL. So what? What's that do? That does nothing. You're better off to have a piece of cheese, put butter, cook with butter. I love butter. I never bought the margarine thing. Remember when margarine came out? By the way, that's hydrogenated seed oil. That's a vegetable oil. Well, it looks like butter, and it doesn't taste like butter, but it looks like butter, and the whole world went for it. The whole world. Hook, line, and sinker. And they still teach it today. If you talk to a dietitian today, they'll tell you, you better lower your cholesterol. And there isn't a cardiologist in North America that isn't taught that cholesterol is the boogeyman. They teach it in medical school. Brought to you by, I wish these, look, I got a Martin Clinic sweatshirt on. Do you see that? See the Martin Clinic logo? I don't hide it. This program is brought to you by the Martin Clinic. My wife is so tired of looking at all my t-shirts and my hats. She's wondering if my underwear are Martin Clinic. Everything I wear is Martin Clinic. I got a logo on everything. But you know what should happen in the medical schools? And the doctors doing research? They should have their logos on. Brought to you by Lipitor or Zocor or whatever. They should have, just like the racing car drivers. You know how they have their logos all over their cars and all over their clothes, right? But that's what medicine should do. You go into the hospital, he's got a lab coat on with all the logos on it. Not his name, Dr. So-and-so MD. No, yeah, he might have his name there, but also all the logos from the sponsors. Guys, that's why there's so much trouble trying to change anything. I just brought you a couple of studies this morning. In Egypt, they're actually using, it's almost astonishing to me, they're actually using vitamin D. They're using it. 1 million doses have been brought to those hospitals where they have COVID. Vitamin D. They're finding out that people that get COVID and don't do well, they got low levels of vitamin K. So vitamin K, guys, is not only just for your heart, and it clears out your arteries. Vitamin K2 clears your arteries. Talk about, is there any drug that clears your arteries like vitamin K2? No. You can lower your cholesterol all you want. That's not going to save you from heart disease, because that's looking for love in all the wrong places. It's not cholesterol. You don't get hardening of the arteries with cholesterol. Like blaming cholesterol. I know cholesterol goes through your blood vessels, guys. It's FedEx on the highways. It's transporting your hormones. It's trying to find triglycerides. Take them out. You want cholesterol. You want high levels of vitamin K2. I love K2. Look, I take it with the vitamin D, but guys, I eat it. I love cheese. Why do you think it's part of my reset? Cheese. You don't hear me telling you to drink milk. Milk has a little bit of K2, but not much. Because, I don't want to get into it, but milk has been changed too, guys. Right? Milk in the grocery store, that ain't milk. Leave it alone. Eat your cheese. And I don't mean Kraft slices. Cheese curds. I love cheese curds. I do. I've been eating cheese curds for so long. I love them, but I know how good they are for me. I'll bring you a study. This will blow you away tomorrow. I'm going to do it tomorrow because I don't have time to do it today. On something that happened you might have seen the news and you might not have, but I'll bring it to you tomorrow. I'll go into the details of this tomorrow. This was, I don't know how to describe it to you, how we got the wool pulled over our eyes. I think what's happened in COVID is we've really our medical system got exposed. They got exposed, in my opinion. Look, and I'm not saying throw out your doctor and come on. Don't come after me for that, please. I just want to give you the news behind the news. Stuff that maybe you haven't thought of, and, it's for your information, okay? I want to educate, and I look for stuff like this. There was something that came out, a story on the Lancet, which is, it's the gold standard of medical journals. And they pulled the wool over our eyes, and they got caught. We'll talk about that tomorrow. So guys, recap. Even for your essential vitamin B12, by the way, there's another study on B12. Is there one or two that I saw over the weekend? Another one. I'll tie this in tomorrow, or maybe the day after. Vitamin B12 and vitamin D are linked. You need good levels of vitamin D in order to absorb your B12. Isn't that something? But guys, if you eat from the animal kingdom, look, you need the sun. Okay? But in food, vitamin D3, because people ask me that. I get asked that. I don't think there's a week go by that I'm not asked about, should I take vitamin D2 or 3? Well, first of all, vitamin D2 is in the plants, and you can't absorb it. They used it in the 1920s, I think it started then, to fortify cereal. And they took vitamin D2. Well, that didn't fortify cereal at all. It didn't elevate your vitamin D levels at all. But they fortified them with B vitamins and vitamin D2. Milk is fortified with vitamin D2. But do you know that eggs, meat, and cheese have D3? Now, not much. But it is in the animal kingdom. So do you want to know why Dr. Martin is not a vegetarian or a vegan? And I preach against it? I do. I preach against it. It doesn't necessarily make me very popular on the internet. It don't. I'm popular on Facebook, but I'm not popular on a lot of websites or the new world order that wants you to be a vegan or a vegetarian. Because I'm a big guy into the animal kingdom. You need it. All your essential vitamins are there. And you know me, I'm consistent about that. I talked to a farmer the other day. I said, where's my check? What I should have, sponsored by, by farmers. The farmers in Canada and the United States should be sponsoring me because I'm their best friend. But I've been consistent about that. Okay? So vitamin D, vitamin B12, and vitamin K2 this morning. K1 is in the plants. It thins your blood. Nothing wrong with it. It makes your blood less sticky. I like that. So does water, by the way. And vitamin K2, huge on taking calcium out of your blood vessels and putting calcium where it belongs. So for heart disease and stroke, it's probably one of the most essential vitamins you can take. And then, secondly, what we found this morning is that vitamin K2 is essential to fight COVID and to fight viruses. So vitamin K goes along with vitamin D as far as your immune system goes. Nice to know. Nice to know. Okay, so guys, thanks for watching. We will do a little announcement. We will do probably, I think, Thursday morning. We're going to do live with Tony Jr. And that'll be Thursday, I think, at 10. I haven't heard anything different. I just wait for instructions and then show up. And send in your questions. Okay, so Friday is question and answer if you can't come on Thursday on the live program. Okay, we do it Friday morning. I do the question and answer. Okay, so that's what we're scheduling this week. Love you guys. Talk to you soon.